A new year has begun. What can we expect in 2023? Nobody knows. But I can tell you right away what to expect from the Soft Skill channel in the new year, right here in the new channel update. Welcome to the Soft Skill channel. My name is Sebastian Jung and I welcome you to the channel update January. Let's start with a short look back at recent videos. First, we had the video about the KonMari method that we tried ourselves. That was a nice change because usually we don't have this kind of video where we talk about our own experiences. So I think it turned out nicely, turned out as an interesting video. After that, we had a soft skill talk about behavior, about attitude at work. I think this is quite an interesting and important topic that isn't actually discussed that often. I mean, we have things like, how do I need to behave so my boss will promote me more quickly? Or how do I become popular among my colleagues? But this general topic of behavior at work isn't discussed that often. So I think it was quite interesting. Now, obviously, there are probably a lot more aspects and things that could be discussed that are important. In this video, I just picked up a couple I thought to be relevant and interesting. After that, we walked the critical path. That was quite a short video by my standards for the change, about 10 minutes I think, but quite an interesting concept I believe. The critical path is a term from project management, but it is also helpful for our day-to-day lives, so I think it was good to have a look at that one. And of course, there was a book review, and it was a somewhat exotic book for a change because we discussed the Parent Effectiveness Training by Thomas Gordon. A book about raising children, about education, which is an unusual topic for this channel, but the background is that Thomas Gordon, same as Marshall Rosenberg, was a student of Carl Rogers. And we already discussed Rosenberg. We had a look at his nonviolent communication. So it made sense to have a look at Thomas Gordon's work as well. And that is the Parent Effectiveness Training primarily. And furthermore, it is quite a nice book. I enjoyed it a lot. I like Gordon's approach to dealing with children a lot, so it made sense to have a look at that. At this point, we would usually proceed to the preview of upcoming videos, but I'd like to change this usual order up a bit today and first talk about our plans for 2023. However, if you are primarily interested in the preview, in the video description, as usual, we have an index with clickable chapters, so you can jump to the preview right away. Now, the most important change in 2023 is that the number of videos on the channel is reduced. I already discussed this a bit in the previous channel update, previous month, but now it is final, and the model for 2023 will be like this. We will release a new video every second week. So there won't be a video next week, but there will be a video the week after, and then no video, and so on. Currently, we are in calendar week 4, so there will be a video in calendar week 6, 8, 10, and so on in the even calendar weeks. There will also be fewer channel updates. Accordingly, we will have one channel update per quarter, one channel update every 3 months. The next one will be the end of March 24th in calendar week 12. They are a bit closer together now because of the change, because of implementing the change. And this will be at the end of the first quarter of 2023, and it will be during the beginning of spring. And I think that's what I will call them. It will be the channel update spring, followed by the channel updates for summer, fall, and winter. Speaking about summer, this year there will be no summer break, but we will have this rhythm of one video every second week throughout the entire year. Now, specifically for the English channel, basically the English channel will proceed as usual. It will run parallel to the German one and will receive English versions of all the videos. However, this year there might be a few exceptions. As long-time viewers know, there have always been some topics where I was wondering how should I deal with them in regard to the English channel. Primarily this was about books by German authors that had not been translated into English. And I wondered, should I even still do a book review for them on the English channel? And up to now, I always did it. So I always had an English version of all of the videos, even if they weren't that relevant for an English-speaking audience. But in the future, in such cases, we will sometimes skip the English video because the soft skill channel overall is a rather small channel. The English channel is even smaller than the German one. We don't have that many viewers, and if I present topics that are very niche topics, very specific, interesting to only very few people, we will have almost no viewers on the English channel, and for that it is just too much work. So at a few times this year, one video on the English channel might be skipped. I would like to talk briefly about the reasons for the reduction. I already discussed this a bit in the previous channel update, so sorry for the repetition, but I think it makes sense to explain the reasons in this video where I finally announce the change. Now, as you can probably imagine, our videos take a lot of work. Now, they might not look it. Seems like I'm just sitting here talking, nothing special. However, a lot of work goes into that because first I have to do some research. For example, if I do a book review, I have to read the entire book first. And even for other videos, I have to read articles, studies, whatnot, sometimes books as well. So this is a lot of work. Then I write the script where I plan what I'm going to say in the video using keywords. So I have to figure out the structure, I have to figure out what goes into the video, what is to be left out, and so on. So this is a lot of work as well. Then we have to do the actual shooting, the actual recording, which usually takes half a Saturday, so it takes a lot of time as well. Usually I don't get it right on the very first try. Most of the time I get it right on the second. So if a video is half an hour long, this is an entire hour pure recording plus setting up the equipment and everything. So this takes quite some time. Finally, there is the editing of the footage where I, for example, add this little text insertions and so on, which also takes a couple of hours. Then it is uploaded to YouTube. We have to create the video description. We have to create subtitles, which is usually done by my girlfriend. So she puts a lot of work into it as well. And bottom line is that the channel is basically a part-time job for both of us. And this isn't such a bad thing, basically because we enjoy doing it and we like running the channel. However, the sheer amount of time and of work it takes has led to problems again and again in the past, especially in the last year. Because first of all, frequently the work the channel requires gets into conflict with my actual paid work. And this is, of course, something that shouldn't happen, because my paid work always has to be more important, has to take precedence. At this point, I should mention that I will briefly discuss the monetarization of the channel briefly later, but this doesn't really change the situation here, because even if monetarization will work out really well, it will only cover part of the expenses that go into running the channel, and we certainly won't get to the point where we actually make any money from the work and effort we put in. So this doesn't change the situation here. And the second problem we frequently encountered is that running the channel actually becomes stressful, because with a video every week we have a deadline each week, and we always pre-produce a bit, produce a few videos in advance, so we have some buffer, but still each time something unexpected comes up, each time we are busy somewhere else, time really gets scarce and things get tired and stressful. And of course, this is something that should not happen for this channel, which is basically a spare time project and a hobby. And we need to consider that one video release each and every week is a pretty tight schedule. We decided to do this when we started the channel because we looked up to the big professional channels and we thought, oh, we want to do it like them. We want to have this regular releases once a week and so on. And we managed to do it in 2021. In 2021, there was a new video every single Friday throughout the entire year. But after that year, we clearly decided, oh, we don't want to do that again. This is just too much. And 2022, we wondered in what way could we reduce the workload. And back then we also thought about going to a 2-week schedule, but finally we didn't want to make this big step. We decided to have a summer break instead. And so we did, and it worked out nicely. Summer break was great, but in the end it just wasn't enough. So this year we finally decided to reduce our schedule to 1 video every second week, and I think it is the right decision. Now, of course, at the end of the year, beginning of next year, we will review our schedule again and maybe make changes again. But since the conditions won't drastically change, I don't expect to go back to a weekly video anytime soon. As I mentioned before, I'd like to briefly discuss the monetization of the channel, because I announced in the November channel update that it would be coming. So I'd like to give you an update. I'm afraid I wasn't able to make a lot of progress so far. I still have to do all the research regarding bureaucratic issues, especially tax issues. So I'm not any further than I was back then. However, I hope that I will get this stuff done in the first quarter, so it will be finished when the next channel update comes up. So I'd like to tell you what my plans are in advance, because I'd like you to know before things get actually implemented. It's nothing to be afraid of. The first thing is that we will join the partner program of YouTube, which will at first probably only apply to the German channel, since the English one is still too small. I'm not entirely certain if they really differentiate by channel or by account. We will see. So joining the partner program means that when advertising is shown in my videos, as it already happens, I will get a few cent revenue from that. So there is no change for you. There is already advertising and this won't change. However, I will make a few cents from that in the future, hopefully. Second, we plan to have affiliate links. As you probably know, if I show any books or if I use books as sources, we will provide the details about this book in the video description, and we also always provide an Amazon link where you can buy the book. Now, in the future, we want those to be affiliate links, which means if you click that link and you actually buy the book or you buy anything else on Amazon, we will also get a few cents in revenue. There is no change for you, so your purchase won't be any more expensive or anything, no change, but we will profit a bit. So this is actually a nice way to support the channel without having to invest anything. And finally, I'd like to add a way so you can donate to the channel. Well, not really donate, to be precise. There are no donations in the legal tax context of things. It's more like a tip. So for example, if you watch a video and you say, oh, this was such a great video, and even though the video is free, I'd like to tip that guy $2 or something, then you can do it. Now there are plenty of service providers for this kind of thing, like Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee or whatnot, and I will have to research which of those are the best fit for this channel, and I will provide a way to tip me using such providers. So bottom line is, nothing will change for you if you don't want it. You are not forced to do anything. Everything on the channel will remain free and available. We won't have any stuff like, oh well, if you pay money there will be additional content or something like that. Everything I release will remain free, but there will be ways to support the channel for those who'd like to do it. Things like affiliate links or Patreon or whatnot, I could basically have already implemented in the past, but as I mentioned, there is a lot of bureaucratic work that needs to be done before doing any of that. So I want to do it all at once, so I can do this bureaucratic stuff all at once. So we will implement the things I mentioned all together. Hopefully I can give you more details in the spring channel update. If I don't get it done by then, it will come later during the year. Speaking of things to come during the rest of the year, let's finally proceed to the preview. There are 3 more videos to come before the channel update spring at end of March, over the course of 6 weeks. They are not entirely finalized. Planning is not entirely finalized because we were sick a couple of days, so we didn't make as much progress as we would have liked. So everything is not yet 100% final. The next video is pretty final. It will cover the topic of mental load, which is a very interesting topic that is discussed a lot currently, that came up a few years ago. Mental load describes the psychological load, psychological effort that is created by planning work, management work. And this is an important topic, especially in the domestic area, considering families, especially families with kids, because there is an imbalance. Most of the mental load is usually shouldered by women. So that is an important topic in that regard. And it is quite interesting. We will have a look at that. It is also a nice fit because same as the parent effectiveness training book review, it concerns families with children. So accidentally this turned out to be quite a nice fit in regard to the topics. The next video after that will be another addition to our series on biases and fallacies. I'm not yet certain which one it will be. I'm planning to do the self-serving bias because I'd like to discuss a bias that has a bit of a social component, and I think the self-serving bias will fit that well. However, I wasn't able yet to do the research and figure out if it is suitable for a video. Now, the self-serving bias basically means that we have a tendency to say, well, my successes, that came about due to my own hard work. But my failures, oh well, those were bad outer circumstances. And for other people, we like to turn this around. So this is quite a fun and interesting bias. We will see, we will probably discuss it. The third video will be a book review, and most likely it will be The Managed Heart: Commercialization of Human Feelings by Arlie Russell Hochschild from 1983, a classic that is about jobs, about work that has an emotional component. Hochschild focused on flight attendants who obviously have to be nice and smile, even if passengers are total complete assholes. And as a contrast, she also had a look at bill collectors, where things are pretty much the other way around, because bill collectors pretty much have to suppress their empathy and their understanding and create a mindset of, oh, well, this people who didn't pay their bills, they're probably evil and lazy and whatnot, and it's probably their own fault. So it's quite a different kind of emotional work that they need to do. So it's quite an interesting topic, and we will probably have a look at that one. I've started the book, and so far it is quite interesting. I'd like to briefly mention two topics that are to come later this year. I usually avoid those long-term forecasts. However, those are two topics that are pretty much certain to come soon in the next couple of months, that is. And the first one is the topic of habits. Quite an interesting topic we haven't covered on the channel so far. And I intend to fill that gap. There are two interesting books here. The first is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I already read that a while back in the past, and I enjoyed it, I liked it. And the other is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I haven't read that one yet, but heard a lot of good about it. So I will probably do book reviews of those two. The other topic came to my attention thanks to a viewer of the German channel who recommended the topic to me, and this is the topic of expressive writing. I have two books here by James Penbaker, who came up with this technique of expressive writing. This one I could only get a German edition of. It is called in English Write to Heal, and this one is opening up by writing it down by Penbaker together with one Joshua Smith, a colleague of his. And I quite enjoyed this books, and I like the technique of expressive writing. It is basically a therapeutic kind of writing, so you don't write to show your writing to anyone. You don't have anyone read it, but it is a technique you use for yourself, for example, to better deal with traumas. So quite interesting. We will have a look at that. Well, I hope 2023 will be a great year for all of you, and I would be quite happy if this channel can contribute a tiny bit to that. We will see each other again next week. For today, I'll take my leave. Have a nice day. See you next time.